Hey guys, how you doing today? For those of you who said good, great. For those of you who said bad, go to o'neillfarms.com and send me an email, and you can talk to me about it. I may not be able to help you, but I'll listen. Now, just setting wells. That's kind of what we've been doing. A lot of it's peat and repeat. A lot of that is farming, but this is the one I got two sides to do. I set the side over there, and then I set this side, and I got the surge valve on it. For those of you new to the channel. Nope, so the irrigating continues. We're kind of maybe slightly coming off of peak water use. Some of our earlier corn, like our short season earlier planted stuff, might be starting to dent right now. I haven't checked it yet, but my brother was in some the other day and he said he saw a dent potentially in it or two, so which that's good because that means that one's really coming off of peak water use, and that one will be just kind of maintaining it till it gets kind of to maturity, basically. Just shutting off some gates right now. This field here, usually I would check these rows at the end, but I've been over this one probably three times or so, and I've checked it a couple times the first time, and they've all been getting through. So after that point, I'm usually fairly confident that all the rows are getting clear through to the other end of the field. And so I just kind of start switching them back and forth. I just kind of set them at a pace I know that they'll make it through. That way it saves me some time as well, because you're always going to have some running out the end regardless. So the surge valve, flip it over that way. And set that side. Then it should be ready for a 24-hour set. So what I kind of wanted to talk to you today is about different hybrids and what they mean and how they work on our farm. When you see signs like that, that's usually labeling the hybrid of what this field is right here. And right now this is beans, and so this one is 2519 RX2. And there's a car coming, and I don't want to be holding my camera looking like a moron right here, so I'll pause it. Just a normal farmer holding a camera. It's typical nowadays. Everybody has a camera on a farm show. Okay, got that side open. There's not very much pressure there yet, but once we shut these off, they'll pressure up and should be good to go. Oh yeah, I don't know if I've ever shown you guys, but you can also put inline valves on these pipelines here. So say if I'm just irrigating and I don't want to fill this pipe all up with water, I can shut this valve and it'll block it up so I can get more pressure and not waste so much water down that way. So that's what those are, inline valves. To point you out a little history along here, this is Highway 40 that comes up from Kearney and kind of shoots up towards Arnold, Nebraska. And it used to be, in the back in the day, a train track was right along here. And this is an old culvert that train track used to go over. As you can see, some rebar is starting to pull up from it. We got to kind of fix this because it's starting to kind of lose its dirt over it. Track, you can kind of see the mound. I don't know if you can see the mound up there or not, but there's the old mound. This was just leveled off for more field work. A lot of these towns were spaced out, I don't know, about 10 miles apart back in the day, because that was just kind of train stops along the way. So just a little history for our area. And where our farm is was actually, I think, one of the largest bridges that crossed Wood. It's the beginning part of kind of a Wood River up here, but it was the longest bridge that was, I think, on this line, if I'm correct. So I don't know if any of you live close to us, you can correct me on that. Dad said back in the day they'd lay pennies on the track and let them flatten it. Apparently they had a lot of money back in the day. So if you can see this building right here, they actually sell channel seed here. So they asked us if they could put in a little plot, and so we're like, sure. A lot of seed companies and stuff like that will do test plots, and they'll put in side by sides. We'll go down it in the line here. You kind of got your different numbers, but all these are a different hybrid, meaning there's a different genetic, there's a different maturity in them. And so I think the first one was a 207, and I think how these channel hybrids are labeled, you just basically replace the 2 with a 1, and that's how many day length hybrid it usually takes to get to maturity. A lot of it depends on your heat units to get to that point with corn crop. And so like you see, 107 day clear up to, we got a 215 day, and actually I think some of them we planted, I think, a 116 day as well. And so that's kind of the range. The typical range for us here in central Nebraska, what we got is anywhere kind of from 101 or 103 day to 116. We kind of plan a range. What that allows us is we don't have to worry about picking all the corn in the same day. Plus, a lot of it is kind of spreading your risk, just like a 401k or I don't know what you call them, a Roth IRA, or what do you call them, a mutual fund. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, because a lot of times you might have a different weather streak. Say this hybrid's pollinating when this one's not. Well, sometimes you might get a week or a few days of cloudy weather or just bad weather, and that might be bad for that hybrid. But since you kind of diversified, this one might thrive a little bit more. So you kind of diversify your portfolio that way. Just put that filter somewhere else. I'm here setting another well. I'm going to use this. I better do it this way. I'm going to use this hybrid here as an example. This is Pioneer PO339. So what that is 103 day corn. And it's fairly shorter season in our area, which is nice, so we can get started picking earlier and just kind of spreads out our harvest season a little bit more. But so one of the characteristics, just to kind of go through why we would plant this hybrid. This probably isn't a racehorse hybrid, and what I mean by racehorse is usually those can really go after the top end yield and can really out yield things. And so you ask, why wouldn't you plant all those? Well, this one is kind of like the horse you take out every day to round up cattle, and is always there, reliable. And so you kind of like to bank on those, and that's why it comes down to diversifying your portfolio. You might have your Amazons and your Apples, but sometimes you just need the GEs and things like that just to kind of round off your portfolio. So in case of things do go bad, this one's probably going to be standing around while that racehorse might be kind of falling over. What we like about this hybrid is it flexes well. And what I mean by flex is, you talk about ear flex. This one can be, you know, depending on the population you put it at. Say you went a lower population, well, that ear can flex bigger because it's got more room to grow. And if you plant it thicker, it'll probably shrink up a little bit, just to kind of go off depending on what that year gives it, and for nutrients and stuff like that. So you can actually kind of maybe plant these a little bit thinner and get away. Now say if this was a more what we call a fixed ear hybrid, meaning that ear is going to kind of put out, you know, the same ear whether you plant 35,000 or 18,000, and so you kind of got to find that right population for that kind of hybrid there. And what we like about this one too is it's kind of got a good standability. I mean, it's just a good all-around agronomic plant, and so it's kind of one of those year in year out, you know, old reliables. Oh man, it's dewy out here. Stuff I do for great TV. But we'll just pull off an ear here, get back out of here. I mean, you could watch this or Top Gun. What would you rather watch? So there's just a typical year. I always try to grab just a random ear. But that's what she looks like, and you can see right here, we're already starting to see some dents. I don't know, let me pull this up here. I don't know if you can see this right here, but we're already starting to see some dents in this hybrid, which meaning we're starting to get a little closer. Now this Pioneer will typically tend to fill out maybe a little bit more even while it's denting, but that's not a bad size ear, especially if, you know, we probably plant this 31, 32 maybe. Starting to get closer to maturity, and what will happen is all these will start to dent, and what's happening is that moisture's kind of, the water's getting pulled out of that kernel, and it's just getting closer to black layer. Well, what black layer is I'll break it in half here for you. I guess first off we'll count how many around this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is 20 around. That's pretty good. Obviously the size and weight of it will determine the final yield, but no, what will happen is the moisture will start drawing down out of these kernels from the top towards the center, and when it gets all the way down here to the center, it'll black layer. And what black layer is kind of technically the mature state of the plant. Now it's still going to be probably at 30% moisture, but usually what you want to store it in a grain bin at is kind of around that 15% moisture. And so a lot of our corn around here is picked kind of from that 19% down to that 15% range. It's kind of when we pick a lot of what we call dry corn. Some other places, like you get up to Minnesota and like North Dakota and those, you know, further north, they just don't have as long as growing season. They kind of have to dry probably pretty much all their corn. They don't have as long as growing season to get that corn completely dried out. So a lot of them have more dryers, and they basically have to dry everything. And so that's just kind of the difference in the corn belt here of what a lot of us face. Any questions, just feel free to ask, because it's hard for me to tell what makes sense and what doesn't out here. So we're standing in front of a Pioneer sign right here, and this is the hybrid label of this corn here. This is actually kind of a dryland corner, so this has kind of been drier this year, so it's a little bit shorter. But anyway, this designation is kind of telling us what this hybrid is. A lot of the Pioneer numbers now, this is usually replaced with a 1 to kind of tell us how many day length it is. So this would be like a 110-day hybrid, and 82 is the hybrid. I'm not exactly sure how you describe this. And then AM is kind of telling us it's an acre max. That's kind of telling us how it's been kind of genetically modified. Some of them have been more or less. So this one is an acre max. These are different labels. We could spray Liberty Link on this one, or Roundup. This is kind of the insect protection, Herculex 1. That's also got corn borer protection in it as well. So kind of where we'd plant this one is where we had beans last year, because this one doesn't have in-ground worm protection. Or we may plant it in a year after a corn, you know, maybe 1 year after corn, and then put insecticide and furrow. That's just kind of what these signs kind of tell us, and why the different reasons why we might put this in this field versus another field over there. There's a lot that goes involved in kind of placing hybrids and hoping for the best yield for those situations. So I'm pertaining to the title of this. My wife is a pure Dutch lady from Sioux County, Iowa. She came clear out here to marry a mutt of an Irishman, central Nebraska. Make better choices, girls. Looks like Brother John's starting to clean off his truck. Well, it's actually all of our trucks, but he drives it, so. Wait, coming full circle on hybrids, this is where all the corn will end up eventually. Well, at least half of it. We got another one here somewhere. Up there, all the way up there, and up in the grain tank is where we'll decide what the yield sensor, well, and ultimately the scales at the elevator will tell us how we did in evaluating on how we did yield-wise. No, I haven't set this all up. So we're inside the combine cab right now, and this is where we're going to decide what yielded well and what didn't well, and ultimately we'll kind of figure it out more so there in the office. But this is kind of where we initially kind of see what kind of job we did this year and what kind of growing season we had. And one thing lately, technology has been doing really well and helping us out is in deciding, being able to measure how well each hybrid did. So this is going to be our yield map. And I don't have the actual map set up, the screen's set up how I like, because what I'll have is on this screen, I'll eventually have it tell me the hybrid and where it's at. You know, it'll have a variety locator, so when I pull into a certain spot in the field, it'll tell me this is hybrid A or B or C or whatever. And I'll be able to kind of evaluate, not only on this screen, but just looking at it through my corn head, what kind of condition it's in and how well it's doing. And so that's kind of how it comes full circle on our farm, is, you know, being able to visually see it and also visually kind of see on a map how well it's doing compared to other hybrids. And I kind of went over this earlier in the year when I was planning, how I kind of labeled the field strips that I would like to test. Some of them I did population strips, some of them were just hybrid strips, other ones were different strips on, we put some additives in furrow with our starter fertilizer. And so I labeled those in the hybrid locator or the variety locator, that way it could easily be tracked and measured. And I also kind of use it labeled the check row strip right next to it, so it isn't convoluted with the rest of the field. So it's a good test, and hopefully we'll be able to learn some more things. And we try to do that every year, just to kind of zero in and get better and learn and do more things, and try to just kind of push the envelope as much as we can without spending more money than we have to. And so that's kind of what we try to do here on our farm. And I know a lot of farms do it maybe different ways to get to the same point, but they try different ways to get this figured out anyway. And we'll never get it completely figured out, but we can always get better at it, and that's kind of our goal. So that'll do it for this video, guys. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask below. And if you have any like huge questions that you kind of want to do in an email, just go to www.o'neillfarms.com, and I kind of got a email down below, and so just use that, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. But no, if you have short questions, just feel free to answer them in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.